What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of PetVerse. We're here with the Isocycos again. What do you guys have for us today?
We're going to look at our main money makers, our isopods. We're going to look at more able to use for like cleanup crew ones, and then we're also going to look at pet ones because there are people that get them as pets.
And guys, like when we say a variety, all of these are like different kinds of isopods. We won't be able to unfortunately show you every single one of them today, but we'll give you like a variety of them. They are very cute. They're very different. There's some that look like zebras. There's some that look like little duckies. It's adorable. So without further ado, let's get started. What are we going to talk about first?
So I'll just show you a couple of the different more pet ones because a big difference between pet and cleanup crew is their style and what they look like and how expensive they are. So these first two that I have out are $250 for 10 of them right now for different reasons, but
Okay.
yeah.
So what are we looking at first?
So the first one I have is Pak Chong. So these are pretty expensive, but they're also super pretty. Cubaris tends to be pretty expensive in general.
And these are Pak Chongs,
Yeah.
right? Talk a little bit about why you guys have the egg cartons and the different leaves and stuff here.
So egg crates, these are just fun for them to climb in. We'll open up some and you'll see them all there's one right in there. They're just fun to climb on. They're just a little bit of excitement for them. These leaves are actually shelter, fun to climb on, and they're also food. They're full of nutrients. These are red oak leaves that we get from a special source. I highly suggest that you don't just go out into your yard to find some, because there could be pesticides on them. Your neighbors could use them, or the city could. So it's just best to have like a good, for sure, source of fresh. They also eat rotten wood, which is really cool. They also love to climb on it. We'll find some cool wood that they love to climb into. That's really cool.
And then do you guys handle these at all?
We can, but we don't necessarily need to. It doesn't like create a bond between you and them or anything like that. And they're more scared of you than anything, so.
And then this is a pretty big container for, I'm pretty sure it's because you guys are breeding them. Like, if you have them as pets, do you keep them and stuff this big? Or how much do they really need, like, space-wise?
It just depends on how many you have. We like to have them in pretty big ones. We have even bigger ones right here. Because we want to breed them a lot, so we want to have a lot. And the more room they have, the more likely they are to breed and fill up all the space. Another cool thing that we have in here is this is cuttlefish bone. And this is an amazing source of calcium for them. It's super healthy. And we just stick this in and they make little holes in them. So it makes a really cool little pattern.
And you said it's a good source of calcium, right?
Yeah.
That's what I've been finding out. Is like a lot of like reptiles and insects. Usually, you have to like cover their food in some like calcium and stuff like that.
Yeah, but if you give them the cuttle bone, or some people like to just get the cuttle bone and they'll scrape it off into their food, and then that's just straight calcium. A big reason for that is because their exoskeleton is basically made of mostly calcium. So the more they eat, the stronger their exoskeleton is, and so it's really, really good for them.
And then the ones on this side, what are we looking at over here?
These over here are blonde duckies. We love our blonde ducky babies.
One of my wife's perfect favorites. Are those the babies in those aren't, right?
No, so those little tiny things are springtails, and they're another form of cleanup crew that clean up mold. So if you have a very humid enclosure, you put them in there and they'll take care of the mold for you.
And then one question I was asking you guys earlier is how to differentiate between male and female. And then you were saying it's because you look at their butts, right?
You look at their booty. So it doesn't necessarily look like these guys are like that. But we'll look at another type where it's easier to tell. But usually they have like these little pokey thingies that come out of their butt, and the longer they are, the more likely they are to be a male.
Okay.
We can check that out in a different type.
Super cool.
So these would be pets.
Okay.
People would get them. You could get them to put in with your reptiles, but it's more likely to be pets. And if you get them to put them in with your reptiles, it's because you really want to be bougie about it.
Okay.
Let's take out our lava. These are the ones that have the fancy butts.
I like butts.
I do too.
These ones are a lot bigger too.
Yeah, so another big thing that you want to consider when getting isopods is size. Because if you have an insectivore, your insectivore will eat these. And I mean, that's not a bad thing, but you want to keep your isopods.
And this is what you were talking about, right?
Yeah,
The butts.
they're little butt antennas. I think we have some customers here. But these are lavas. These are more... They could be pets, they could be cleanup crew, they could just be like super fancy cleanup crew for you.
Mm-hmm.
But I've noticed that we only sell these when people want them as pets, so they'd get their very own enclosure. One fun thing about them, so they're biting me right now, but they eat the dead skin off of your fingers, so it doesn't hurt.
So it's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, it's super cute. I've never had them bite me before. That was fun. I'm sorry, buddies. You have to be really careful about putting stuff back down, though. You don't want to squish them.
And what are these ones called?
So these are Peacegaber lava, I believe. Yeah. So these are the lava form of Peacegaber. Peacegabers usually look closer to that, just like a little gray, dark bluish color.
Mm-hmm.
But then the lava form came in, and so now they have like this really cool smoky red on them. So that makes them more expensive too.
Okay, and how much are these? Are these 10 for $250?
I want to say they're probably closer to 80.
For 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it really ranges in price. We can have 10 for $5 or 10 for $250.
Okay.
And like it's everywhere in between.
So these are the pets. What are more like cleanup crew?
Let's see. So these are good ones. If you have an insectivore that you want to put isopods in with, these are our go-to. It's either that or you have a really humid enclosure for your isopods or for your reptile.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you guys go? I know we just had you out. There. So they are tiny little itty bitty isopods. And they do like to burrow into the substrate, and they're really good at hiding. So they're good to put in with insectivores because
There's
they'll
a bigger
hide.
one right there. There you go.
They tend to escape and go into others. So that could have been what happened there. But yeah, these are tiny, so they're great to put in with insectivores. See, that's another little invasive.
So you say in cleanup crew, what do they use? Like, what are they cleaning up? What are they going after? Like when
They eat poop. They eat your reptile's poop. I want some information.
Okay.
How much are the lavas?
$40 for 10.
$40. So these are milkbacks, and these are a really good cleanup crew because they're nice and cheap and they're big. Oh, we have some roaches in there, but that's just feeding them some extra poop, I guess. Here's a really great example of what they do to the cuttle bone. So originally it was like this on both sides. It had like a nice round exterior, but they ate the underside.
Oh wow!
So now there's a whole bunch of ridges, and it looks so cool. I love it. And this is a pretty big adult. I'm assuming that it's an adult. And so they get pretty big, these ones. So these would be really bad to put in with an insectivore because they will get eaten really quick. They don't hide very well.
They're pretty big too, like you
Yeah.
said, so it's kind of hard to hide in
Yeah.
a little container. And then you guys put like carrots and other fruits or
Yeah, so about every 7 to 10 days, we'll open these guys up. We have a wet side and a dry side, and that's pretty important to keep their humidity and temperature control. Because if they feel like being in the humid side, they can be in the humid side. But if they get too humid, they can just move over to the dry side, and they're totally fine. On the humid side, that's where we dump the water, where they get all of their moisture and hydration. We give them carrots and squash. And so that's what they eat for those type of nutrients. And then there's also a special kind of, they don't have it, they ate it all. There's a special kind of isopod food that's a powder food. And we just throw it into the corner of the dry side so that it doesn't grow mold.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like your main thing you got to worry about with these guys is just having mold in there. Because they don't necessarily eat mold as much as springtails. So that's why springtails and isopods are a really good mixture. But if you don't have a mold problem, then we usually just let you get off with.
Do they clean up after themselves? Oh my god. Oh. I just got the shivers, guys.
It took me a while to get used to it, but I've always had a love for weird stuff, living beings. So I've only been part of this for less than a year, but I warmed up to it super quick, even the tarantulas, and I love them all so much.
Super, super cool. Okay, so if somebody wanted to start breeding isopods, like what's a good way to get started? Like what have you learned over this year and like trial and error kind of thing?
So this winter has been really hard on our bugs because with the heat on, it's gotten super dry in here. So we've noticed that even if we check them on a regular basis, we have a lot that are dying because it's just too hot in here and too dry. And we don't have any outlets available to add a humidifier to both rooms. So what we started doing was we put a bowl of water over our vent, because we have a floor vent, and that'll just kind of evaporate up into the air, and it'll keep it nice and humid in here. And that's our first trial to try to even that out. Ventilation in their own bins, too, is super important. You can't have too much. We've noticed with these, because they don't have a lid, they get a little too dry. With the lids here, you can see that we have little holes in them on the top. Yeah. Ta-da! Little tiny holes on this dirty
Did you guys
lid.
drill those yourself, or it just came like that?
We drill every single one of these holes. If you look at this, these are our 2 different vents that we have available, too. We do sell these vents. And also, we are also willing to drill the holes for you for $1 each. Because we have a special drill that will be the perfect size for this. So how these work, I don't know if there's any isopods in here. But how these work is we drill the hole. Oh yeah, hello guys. And this would be on the dry side, because that's the side that'll dry out first because of the ventilation. And then they have these little fingers that can grip around. So then this vent is nice and tight. This type of vent with the vents in it isn't necessarily big for the isopods. We use these for the tarantulas because the tarantulas will bite through and move these little wires right here, and then they'll be able to escape. We've had that happen, actually. It was pretty cool. I liked it. That was fun.
Yeah, you guys told us it was just like hanging out in a corner somewhere, or what?
She was just hanging out on one of the roach bins, chilling, and we kind of just saw her, had to find out which enclosure she had escaped from. We found it, fixed the vent, and then she was so easygoing about getting caught again.
Yeah, and stuff like this is gonna happen, guys. Like, if you look around, there's probably thousands and thousands of isopods, and they're breeders, so stuff like this will happen. But like what they're doing is you find the root cause, you find the problem, and you want to fix it right away instead of just letting it be, because one, it's gonna be better for your business. You're gonna get a better yield out of it, and two, you don't want to get into this and just keep letting animals or insects die. It's not really what you want to do.
Yeah, some people will be as unlucky as they'll leave. We have to be very careful with their decor, because if we leave something out towards the edge like this, or even like that, they will get out, and they will happily do it, and they will run, escape, and chances are they're probably going to die somewhere in your house, and we love our little critters way too much to let that happen.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone that's getting into this business would allow that to like freely happen anyways.
Yeah, that's lost money too. So.
Yeah, exactly. Inventory, business, and you don't want to be that kind of person to just let things die. So do you have any others that you want to show us before we
did you want to see those zebra ones?
Yeah.
I know you guys like those. Papayas are so
They're right there. Zebra.
See, I like having color people around.
These ones are one of my favorites, guys.
Alright, ready? 1, 2, 3. Surprise!
These ones are super, super cool. Is that one shedding? Is that what I'm seeing right there?
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually really fun to get a picture of them when they're half shed because they usually do one half at a time.
Super cool.
So
he's like just carrying it around with him.
He's probably eating it. Yeah, they eat their own shed, clean up after themselves. Pretty handy dandy. Our long-term goal is to move somewhere where we can have all of our critters in a bed and breakfast type thing. So you can go visit everything, learn about everything, and then we'll have a bed and breakfast. And my idea was to have like a little spa room where you put your feet into a bucket full of isopods and they eat all the dead skin off your feet.
It's kind of like those little fishes that they have down there. Yeah, those are really cool. I would do that. Sign me up. But yeah, guys, this was a little piece we did on isopods, you know, the cleanup crew. Okay, before we finish, actually, I know you said they clean up poop. Is it any animal's poop or any reptile's poop, or
yes.
is it?
So if you have a bioactive enclosure, which means that you have the dirt, that you might have some leaves and stuff like that, if your reptile is in substrate, then you can put isopods in it and it'll clean up the poop. They'll clean up the little bits of mold, but like I said, springtails are better for it.
Look, this one's almost shedding, guys. That's why I picked it up. I wanted to see that must have been a
and that's why humidity is so important with them too. Just like when we said on the leopard geckos last time, they need humidity to be able to shed their exoskeleton, because as they grow, they need to shed their skin.
Oh yeah, and that's another. Is the room have to be a certain temperature for these guys to survive, or like how does that go? Like, because I've been in some like reptile rooms and it's like cooking in there, you know. And then there's some lizards or geckos that don't really need that because they could survive a few days in room temperature. So
the fun thing about our selection is that if you come to us and you say, I have this reptile and I need a cleanup crew for it, we will know exactly what kind that would be best. So if you have a chameleon, the bigger ones probably aren't the best because they will shoot their tongue out and eat it, and I mean it's cool to see, but you don't want to lose all the money you just spent on them. But yeah, so we have so many different kinds that can live in different types of environments that we can find the perfect one for you. We have the dwarf whites are really good in humid and really wet substrate. So they're the closest ones we have to like the aquatic ones, I guess. But we also have ones that can survive in super, super dry substrate. You'll have to have like little spots where there's some moisture so that they don't completely dry out. But we also have good ones for in between. So if you want like a pretty one, we've got those that are still like within a price range. If you want just basic ones that'll blend in, we've got those. There's so many different kinds. It's so fun to like kind of pick and choose which ones are best. Our normal go-to is powder blue because they're affordable. They're small enough and fast enough to run away from insectivores, and they get the job done.
Perfect. So can you guys mix and match also if somebody wanted?
No, that's not the best idea. Sometimes we had a dwarf white bin, and it was going really good, and then one day we checked in on them, and it was overrun by powder blue. They got in, and they took up all the resources, and they ended up just out-competing the dwarf white. So it's not the best to have them mix and match because they will get out-competed.
Okay, so it's best to leave them with its kind.
Yeah. But if you do want a healthy mix of different kinds, we do have an option for that too. It's called Treasure Trove. We also have a party mix as well. Take those guys out.
Treasure Trove. That's what we're about to look at, guys.
I'm not going to do it again. Okay. So, Treasure Trove, super pretty. I don't know where they are. They're in the Magnolia Seed Pod. But they come in a whole bunch of different colors and patterns, and they're so cute.
Yeah, guys, there's some white ones, some red ones, some orange and white ones.
Some dark gray ones. They're not eating their dead buddies right now.
Super cool. If you guys can look at this one, it's just playing with something.
It's trying to get up, but he grabbed some loose dirt, so ta-da!
There you go.
So yeah, we do have bins like this that have a whole bunch of different kinds together, and it works out really well. But they were kind of like, that's the kind that they are. They just come in a whole bunch of different patterns and colors. So
super, super cool, and it's always a pleasure to come here. Don't forget to check out the Iso We'll leave the link in the description below. As always, it's been a great time, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and don't forget to leave a nice and funny comment for us. See you next time.